Hello everybody. So this video is my very first video for Playing You the Academy. Welcome. I wanted to do this first video about stage fright because as I've been getting ready to publish my book and launch my book and launch this business, I've been feeling a lot of stage fright. And I think we all, feel stage fright at some point in our life. So we're really lucky today because I've asked my dear friend and colleague, Richard Weingartner, who is an acting coach extraordinaire. He's been in the business teaching, coaching, producing plays, writing plays, directing plays for 35 years. I think he's probably directed at least 150 plays. He's worked with thousands of students on how to overcome stage fright, both if you're speaking, if you're on stage, or even just in your own life. He's like super, super awesome. So these are the things that we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to discuss, first of all, what stage fright is, what stage fright feels like, what happens to the body and the mind when you are having stage fright, and what events cause stage fright. So super excited about this. We've come up with 10 cures, count them, 10 cures for stage fright. And, there's probably a zillion other ones as well. So we're going to give you 10, Richard and I. But if you have other cures for stage fright, please post them in the thread below this video so that, we're all in this together so that we all can learn about how to deal with stage fright. And I also just want to say at the end of this video, the number 10th, the 10th cure we have, there's going to be a surprise. So stay to the very end. The last thing I just want to say is that Richard is somebody that I always learn something new from. I never know what's going to come from him. So I'm very excited to see what his perspectives are and his understandings are about stage fright. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Richard Weingartner. All right, we are recording and we're live. Richard, thank you so much for doing this with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate that.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you. And I have to say, you look very nice today. I was wondering what you would wear, and I like that shirt.
I put my magic blue shirt on today just for this event.
That's great, and I like the decor. The decor is very, very Dickie Wine.
Ditto.
Nice job. Nice job. So, so we're going to teach some of these people out in the world of YouTube land a little bit about stage fright and how to cure it. And I did a little introduction before talking about my experience with stage fright, and you have been introduced, so we're going to go right into it. So the very first question I have is, what is stage fright? What do you term stage fright as?
Well, there's this phenomenon of the stage itself as kind of a metaphor of that thing that we have to stand on and deliver something that's very particular to us. And that being seen and being in public and literally being out front of the comfort of ourselves is often incredibly frightening for people. And it is said that it is one of the most frightening things you could possibly experience. People would rather have root canals and all kinds of things other than being on the stage. And that's this phobia, and there's actually a term for it, and that is glossophobia, which is the fear of speaking in public. But I think it goes to a larger place. I think it really is this fear of being a fraud, perhaps, of making mistake. We get this all the way back in school when we raise our hand and we give the wrong answer. We say, well, I'm never going to raise my hand ever again.
Or we have to answer chrysanthemum in a spelling bee or something like that.
Well, it's really the performance anxiety that we have. And people sometimes are even phobic about ordering something in public, ordering coffee in a line at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is stage fright can happen and all through the day. And even if you're just making a phone call, you can suddenly feel something that's like stage fright. So I want to ask you then, what does stage fright feel like? What does it feel like?
I think that for me, I get this blurred thinking, and all of a sudden I can't remember. And I've always had trouble memorizing lines. And even though the rule is practice,
Me
practice,
too.
yeah,
It's always
some
something.
people have, but I will find myself in this getting very racing thoughts, and part of that blurred thinking appears to be where I can't catch my breath in terms of my brain. My brain can't stop itself or slow down enough for me to simply just settle into it. That's kind of what I experience.
Yeah. One of the things I experience is like this pressure in my heart, and you know what you talked about, it's kind of like I almost leave my body, and it's like, ooh, where did I go? And there's no center. There's not a feeling of being centered. So what do you think that is happening to your body and your brain when you're starting to experience stage fright?
Well, you have all this adrenaline that is being pumped into your system, and your blood pressure goes up, and your body kind of protects itself. So it literally caves in. It really wants to almost go into a fetal position. So one of the things that you also experience is that I never got wet hands, but I do start to experience dry mouth. That's sort of the big thing for me, is that I could drink an extraordinary amount of water, but it just seems like I'm just pouring it on the ground.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. And I'm a coffee drinker, so I'm constantly drinking coffee, which doesn't necessarily help it.
Yeah. I almost feel like for me, it's like stage fright is like a sense of shock, because sometimes it comes up like so quickly that it's just like your body and your mind is shocked by the experience, and then you feel like something's been pulled out from underneath you, and what do I do now? And for me there's like panic, and I've already talked about all of the different levels I go to right before I go on stage.
Yeah.
But it can make you almost suicidal. It really can.
I know that I have wanted to run away, and I know that I have. And
I want to fall asleep. I'll be like, there's no way. Let me go to sleep right now. When you said like curl up, it's like, yeah, let me just fall asleep.
Well, it's such a self-conscious experience when you're talking about the different types of the platforms that you're on. But I know that I am a blusher, and I didn't think of myself as a blusher.
I've never seen you as a blusher.
Well,
I don't think I've ever seen you blush.
Well, maybe you can't tell right now, but I remember being in an acting class where all of a sudden the acting teacher said, "Richard, you're blushing," and I was like, "This is what happens to me." I have that sense of embarrassment where I'm feeling like I'm turning this crimson color. I don't know if I'm actually doing it, but there is definitely a temperature change.
Yeah.
And I sweat. I do.
Oh, I sweat too. Yeah.
Some people have, this thing called flop sweat, which just shows up on your forehead. I don't. I sweat, and it's probably from the caffeine too, is I just sweat internally.
Yeah.
It's not a very pretty sight, that sort of that nervous sweat, and everybody gets that.
Yeah. So, one of the things that we already know is everybody feels stage fright. Everybody does at some point in your life. You're going to feel something. It's just so common. So we're going to talk about 10 cures for stage fright, Richard and I both. And I just want to say that, if you're just going to like watch part of the video and say, well, I've got what I wanted, I want to just say, we have a surprise. The last cure for stage fright is a big, huge surprise. So stay till the very end. All right, Richard, what is the first cure for stage fright?
Well, I think that the first cure for stage fright is to identify the event that's causing the stage fright and try to see it clearly. So, for example, if you had to get ready to give a speech and that you knew that event. It wasn't, the actor's nightmare is that you wake up and you're in your pajamas and you're walking around and there's all these people there.
I've dreamt that dream so many times. Like I've never read the script yet.
And that social anxiety goes to, there's director's dreams where the director's looking at actors on stage and he's never seen them or she's never seen them before. But once you identify the event that's causing, that's the speaking engagement, let's say, or the event that's going to be causing the stage fright, potentially, if you have to give a toast at a wedding, for example, even if you're giving your marriage vows, people oftentimes flub their lines while they're, and that might be the precursor of the marriage, but that's the event. But if you can understand when and where you are when these things happen, if you raise your hand in class and all of a sudden somebody answers your hand and then you even have the answer and you've done the work and you understand it, you might experience this panic attack. I believe that. You could
be in a meeting and all of a sudden the boss says, "Oh yeah, Richard, what is your opinion on this?" And it comes so quickly, doesn't it?
It might even be something that you have all your notes in front of you.
Yeah, and you might not even know you're experiencing it when it happens.
That's where this blushing comes in, is that all of a sudden that the adrenaline starts to flow. But once you know that you're going to be in that environment and that you are prepared as much as you can, I think some people believe they can wing it in all places at all times, and I think you can when you're by yourself and you're in your kitchen and you're doing something. But if you have something special that you're doing, then chances are you have to prepare a little bit more than you might expect. And I think it's not a bad idea to be a little bit over ready.
Yeah. Well, and that actually brings me to the second cure, which I'll talk about. It's like, don't judge yourself. Everyone feels stage fright. So the minute you start to feel some kind of stage fright, whether you're disassociating, whether you're feeling tingling, where your mind just goes, or your mouth gets dry, or you're shaking a little bit. I mean, like I've been out to auditions and I'm shaking like this. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. I've actually had to stop at auditions and just say, sorry, I'm just a little nervous, But it's really hard when your body and your mind are doing things that you don't want them to do. And so it's really easy to say, what's wrong with me? I can't do this. Something terrible is happening. It's really important to just don't judge yourself. Everybody gets stage fright, and accept yourself right in that moment where you are, because you don't need the added little bit of getting on yourself even more. So you're feeling stage fright, and then there's other part of you is going like, how dare you feel stage fright? What's wrong with you?
Well, there's also the notion that is that the stage fright is coming from some particular place, almost out of the blue, as you suggested. And there is a notion that you have to recognize it and understand it for what it is. And most people, once they start feeling it and the brain shuts down because of all this influx of adrenaline, is that they stop breathing. And their breathing changes so much that you're not judging yourself as it's happening, because
well, that brings us to cure number 3. Richard, why don't you give us that one?
All right. So that the cure number 3 is don't believe your thoughts and let go of the wreckage of the future. And that starts when you're in your preparation. Once you're starting the speech, you can, I call it sort of the emotional mathematics of failure, where we're 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. You're just adding up all the different things are going to happen to you.
Totally.
And
like boom, 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 boom.
And it's
domino effect.
And you can't get past this good old fashioned stinking thinking where you're doing everybody else's work for them. You're in the audience's brain. If you have a job interview, which is the same thing as an audition, you're in the employer's brain. You're in everybody's brain. You're even believing that the secretary that's telling you to have a seat is judging everything that there is about you.
Yeah.
And we get all these messages about having to be correct and having to be right.
Yeah. And do it perfectly.
And do it perfectly.
Yeah.
When really, by and large, we need to be clean and polite.
Yes, and considerate, and all of those things. The other thing I would just say too is because when a panic attack happens and you've got
Sure.
stage fright, these thoughts come in so quickly, like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to die. I think, and it's just like, don't believe your thoughts. Like, don't believe them. And the more that you have experienced stage fright, this is why it's really good to put yourself into situations to experience stage fright, because then you can go, oh, I'm just having stage fright. I'm fine. I'm not going to die, or,
Sure.
and just don't believe your thoughts.
And you think about all the places where you don't have stage fright, and the occasion of your humanity to express itself is an important thing. There's no doubt about it. And because we're not necessarily used to, as you suggested, used to being in situations where we get this anxiety, is that we do have to lower the stakes and our expectations of what we're going to get out of that event. Because if we do need a job and we're going for a job interview and our life depends on this job, and that's the only message that we are literally sending out through our energy,
right,
that's the short circuit whatever message you are speaking about, which is generally yourself and how good you are and what you're able to do and what your capabilities are. And those are severed by this anxiety of that you are going. I used to have this thing where I would say, I'm going to be living in a box and along Route 2, and that's going to be where I'm going to end up. That's
right. The wreckage of the future. Exactly. So I want to go on to number 4, which is when we put these together, we sort of lined them up so that they sort of like the number 9 you're just going to love, but number 4 here is talk to someone you trust. This is really important. Again, it helps you get out of your brain. Talking to someone else, especially if it's a long-term speaking or acting or whatever you have to do. If it's like in the future a little bit, just keep talking to people. Talk about how you're feeling, all of that. But don't keep saying, I'm so afraid, I have so much anxiety, because then you're just reinforcing it. So just talk to other people. Just get out of your brain and get some help from someone else, somebody that you trust. It's got to be someone you trust.
And also it has to be somebody who can help you through the procrastination of getting ready.
That's it. Yeah.
Because what happens is you need somebody who is not going to soothe your feelings, but prompt you into taking action for yourself, in front of yourself, with yourself.
Or don't let it somebody who's just as nervous as you are about what you're about to do too. Yeah.
And people who are not going through this place where you're at, they forget that they've gone through that.
Right.
And most people, by and large, they do not put themselves in circumstances where they have to give a formal speech. And if you are in that, they are just deathly afraid of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So why don't you give us the cure number 5?
Number 5 is
a great.
So you have the idea here is to activate the body, to center yourself, is to move and to exercise and to warm up. So if you are in the wings waiting to give a speech, there are certain things that I know that I would do, and some of them may not be backstage appropriate. You might not want to start your jumping jacks or start, doing push-ups, but I think that something like that is where you can move as much as you can, because if you're just, there's the notion of being still and being thoughtful and meditative. I'm a firm believer in that. But if you're like me and you're so scudgy, you might have to start moving around a little bit just to get your thoughts into your body. Move a muscle, change a thought.
Yeah, and I would add to that so when you're nervous, you're kind of leaving your body and you want to center yourself back into your body. And one of the ways you do that is to move the body, exercise a little bit. You could also get out into nature if you're not the next speaker up, and you're just nervous or feeling anxiety in your life, get out into nature or get into a place where you can feel some centering to the
Sure.
planet, to yourself, to your
I really
home.
think Yes, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I really think that getting fresh air before the event is really vital. You know, people are always worried about where their car is parked. I'm a firm believer of park your car far away so you have time to really walk into the event and think about not so much this wreckage of the future, but what you have to do simply to get ready and calm yourself down and prepare in a very ritualized way.
Yeah.
I think
And I just want to also, like, because when you train your actors, you do like an hour warm up, and actors themselves will usually, you know, you'll do a vocal warm up, you'll do a physical warm up, you'll do a mental warm up. You know, there's so many things that you do before you begin to perform in front of other people. And I think that sometimes we just think, oh, I should just be able to just do it just like that without just warming up my body a little bit, warming up my voice a little bit.
I think that warming up the voice, really running that thing, especially if it's a document that you are going to be reading, then go through it and go through.
Even for this, you know, I'm setting up my lights going, whether the weather be cold or whether the weather be hot. I mean, like, I'm doing my vocal warm-ups. Yeah.
And so that you are in your voice. And if you have that last chance to practice, I generally say to actors, if you're in a character, you're in a part in the play, then the last thing I would have you do is run your lines. It's too late for that. But if you are at an occasion and you have a script in front of you, then I think it's appropriate to run them and know that thing cold so that you don't have to worry about it. And that could be part of your backstage.
Yeah, definitely. And the next one is to write down your fears and use the superpower of reverse the curse. Now, this is a made up reverse the curse. It's actually from Boston, so we did have a whole time of reversing our curse and our Boston Red Sox. But this is what you do. Let's say you have a thought that comes in very quickly that's saying, I'm dying, okay? You reverse it right around. I'm living, right? Because it's just as true. Or I'm going to screw this whole thing up, rather than I'm going to be amazing, or I'm going to fail. I'm going to be successful. So you just take whatever thought's coming in and you immediately reverse it, because whatever you focus on, that's what's going to grow. And you do not want it, like Richard said before, you don't want that domino effect of like, oh no, and you know, you fall flat on your face. What you want to do is catch the thought as soon as it comes in and then reverse it.
You have this river of doubt that a lot of times we ride on. And we've been bringing that with us through our childhood, and you need to literally reverse the course of that river, and that takes a certain amount of practice. If you do have this text in front of you, I think it's a great idea to just put on, as cheeky and as cheesy as it is that you need to have something that's going to make you laugh. Even if you write, you look amazing today, and something that's going to bring you back to your own humanity and your own sense of humor. If you don't have any sense of humor about yourself, and if you take yourself too damn seriously, then that's going to be where you're in this river of doubt. You are going to sink. But I do like the reversing the curse of it, of switching that thought.
And I like what you said about adding humor, like in this situation. You know, they say that comedy is tragedy plus time, right? So think about yourself in the future going, all right, one day we're going to laugh about this, you know? There was one time where I was auditioning for a commercial, and I'm dyslexic, so I kept reversing it, you know, and I think it was like, and it's a fruity treat, and I kept saying, it's a truity freet. It's a truity freet.
Sure.
I mean, they took it so many times. I don't think we ever got it. And as it was happening, of course, I'm getting more and more like, you know, upset with myself. But then afterwards, it was just like, that was the most hilarious audition. And, you know, so you're just accepting the humor of whatever happens.
But doing that fear inventory is really helpful, especially if you're going for a job interview and you really have to deal with some serious parts of your life. And it's good to know what they are, that they're not just this cloud, that's just this free floating anxiety, but there's something that's really specific, so you can literally scratch off, no, that's not true. That thought's not true. That
Yes.
I'm not gonna have this catastrophe laid out in front of me if I don't get the job today. There is tomorrow. And I think that if you practicing that gentleness towards yourself, especially in an occasion where the stakes are high.
Yes, exactly.
Is so important.
Yeah.
And get rid of your...
You also talk about, sort of the next one is to, let's see, where are we? Activate your body center. We already did that.
So we are really trying to think about...
we're writing, you're right, writing down the fears. Yeah, that writing down each of those fears. So could you go with number 7?
Sure. So number 7 is a lot like sort of exercising before you participate in the event, but this one is really taking care of your body and learning how to meditate and learning how to take a bath or whatever that is. I don't have a bathtub, so it would be pretty dangerous for me to stop up my drain and fill up my shower stall. But if you can create an environment for yourself where...
I love this one. Like whenever I feel stressed out, I just like run a bath, and I put in essential oils, play some music, and calm myself down. This is a really good time not to like get on YouTube or media or something like this. You really want to... It's another way to get yourself into your body and do calming things for yourself. Music, excellent one.
Well, there's the idea of getting rid of your media that supercharges your anxiety. Yes,
exactly.
So if not that you can have
anything that adds more to your fear in some way.
So if you could have a cellist come into your bathroom while you're taking a bath, that would be an amazing thing. But if you can stay away from some of those devices that we're all so addicted to, that's going to slow you down, because you're not dealing with how the Earth is spinning off its axis and it's going to explode in outer space. You're going to be dealing with, you're the most important thing that has to be taken care of. And that really is and none of us are taught that until way too late.
Yeah, and I think that one other point to this, and that is, don't look at anything that's going to upset you more.
Correct.
So it's like, maybe don't look at your emails right beforehand, because if something comes up that now you adds to it, do everything you can to keep this space around you really pure, so that when you approach whatever it is that you have to do, that you feel that you're bringing your best, clearest, purest self forward.
Sure. In any platform that you're on, that you have to rise to a certain occasion, then I think that there's part of the training is this mind and body and spirit. That's what we're really looking at. Yeah.
So which brings us to our number 8, is that's comfort the mind. So you can listen to a guided meditation, light a candle, burn incense, go to the ocean, go to a lake, and just gaze, be out in nature. I've actually created 2 guided meditations. One is a closed eyes meditation, and one is an open-eyed meditation, just for you, so that our viewers can actually have something to listen to. And I always find guided meditation so helpful, because again, we're talking about the wreckage of the future and how quickly, the mind and its 50,000 thoughts that come running in. And they're never thoughts about, oh, you're going to succeed. Everything's going to be great. I so love you. You just are the best. They're always the reptilian brain thoughts about, you're going to crash, you're going to burn, you better, So stopping and slowing the mind down and breathing and just meditating is just, it really, really helps a lot. And then you can take and focus your own willpower towards what it is you want to have happen. Focus on what you want to have happen and act as if that's what's going to happen.
And a lot of times people think that meditation is for only a certain type of people and they have to be good at it immediately. And we do a lot of meditation in our day. Most of our meditation is negative meditation, when we sink into something that really upsets us and we stew in our own sort of inner suffering. And you don't have to do a lot. You can just start very small. When I started meditating, I was like, this is not working. And it took me a long time and I felt kind of foolish about it not that my neighbors were going, what the hell is he doing in there? But I just didn't feel like it was giving me anything. And then after a while, I discovered that it was calming me down. I'm a agitated.
Well, the other thing is usually in a guided meditation, you're breathing. You have other things to focus on.
Yes.
There's something more that's happening, and just that alone really, really helps. So
daily stage fright, the stage fright of just saying hi to your neighbors, the stage fright of getting in your car, the stage fright of saying hello to people at work, all of that you need to just.
And actually, when you said, how hard it is to meditate, because I've never felt like I'm a very good meditator either. And I think that's part of it is if you do develop for yourself, even a 5-minute meditation practice every day, it builds up and you just get a little bit better at it because everything is about practice. I always feel like I need to know how to do this the first time I do it. It should just happen, right? And everything takes practice.
Absolutely.
So, let's go on to number 9, which is the one I'm super excited about because I think this is like the juiciest. Go ahead.
So, number 9 is developing the ability to focus on others and taking on actions that will help someone else and listening to other people. And the notion that stage fright has a lot to do with sort of self-centered fear and pride. That self-centered fear and pride takes us away from truly delivering the message, and it gives us this uniqueness that gets in the way.
It is so true. I know when I'm panicking and I have stage fright, I'm thinking about myself. And I remember hearing someone once say, I hate myself and I'm all I can think of. And, it's that feeling of being so trapped in yourself and in this. And so, especially as an actor, the minute you get on stage and you start focusing on someone else, or, when I've been preparing to launch this book, I've been walking around with so much stage fright and so much anxiety because it's the wreckage of the future, right? And one of the things that my business coach helped me get to is like, no, this book isn't about you. It's about your readers. Think about them, what you're going to bring them, how you're going to help them. And the minute I did that, it was like, I really felt I could breathe again.
Sure. Well, when I would always, for all the years that I taught, I would always get nervous before rehearsals, and because it was a meaningful moment to me, and I always had that kind of performance anxiety. And even though I taught every day for 35 years, I still had this urgency about it. But as soon as I saw one student who walked in, I realized what my purpose was, and I could put my energy on them. Now, that didn't happen every single moment of every single day, but it gave me the ability to understand what I was doing there, that my service was to the constituency that were before me, not about my own foibles and my own failings and my own misgivings about who I am. So
yes, I remember one thing that was taught to us when we were first learning to audition, and we were going to go talk to agents. And one of the things that they said, and this works very well because actors audition a lot, they have to talk to agents, they have to talk to people, and one of the things that they always taught us to do, and this applies just like going for a job interview, is to ask the other person questions about themselves. Don't make it all about, this is what I can do and this is who I am and blah, 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 blah. It's just like, well, tell me about what you think about this, or, how has it been working for this company, or, do you have children, or, anything that brings you into, actually, you're talking to a human being and not the enemy,
It really is.
Judging you.
It's that you're engaging with other people at a level of, and it's not like you're getting chummy with somebody, but you're engaging with them at a level of, you're recognizing that
humanity. That's really what it is,
sure.
Being human.
And they are also, by and large, they're nervous in this occasion too. If you have to bring people into a new situation, the situation may be I might be doing this for a long time, but if I'm bringing somebody new in there to people who've been around, especially for a job interview, I might be nervous about who I pick.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, the other thing that occurs to me is, you know, when you are actually having to speak with an audience, you know, say at a wedding or, you know, Toastmasters or anything like that, where you actually have to give a speech or at a funeral, connecting with your audience in a personal way. You know, I don't agree with, like, you know, pretend everybody's, you know, in their underwear or something like that. I mean, like, that's just way, you know, that would be too distracting. And I don't think it's really useful. But if you, I remember this one actor who was in my graduate program who I loved watching him. And part of the reason I loved watching him so much was that he was like having so much fun with everybody. He was up there going, we're going to have a good time. I'm here to have such a great, and he always seemed so relaxed. And anything that he was in, I wanted to go see. And it's a craft. I mean, this is a skill to be able to do that. But to begin to think about, you know, like you and I, we're working off each other. I'm not as nervous by my, you know, because I have you to work off of. So just using the audience as somebody that you can work off of, play off of, and reach out to and say, you know, I'm up here and I'm going to entertain you and we're going to have fun.
Well, I've given workshops to teachers, and teachers can be kind of a persnickety audience because they kind of sit
absolutely.
And they kind of go, okay, what are you going to do for me today? But I try to find out the person who's actually has learned how to lean forward and engage. And so I will drink in that first friendly face. And if I get one tiny bit of laughter, I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm such a laughter monger. You know,
you're a laughteraholic.
I really am. Is if you start to laugh, I'm like, oh, good, I've owned, and that's just from being a class clown, and the way I could deflect my nervousness was by being an idiot, and I was very good at that. And so if I have the occasion of somebody is smiling at me or laughing, then that's going to give me more encouragement to not so much be the idiot that I am, but maybe get to my message.
Yeah. Yeah. And that might also take us to, like, when you're looking at an audience and it looks like people are like on their cell phones or there's something else. And so find the one person that's really listening and just, you know, talk to them. Because there usually is somebody out there that their eyes are like right on you, and, you know, talk to them.
Yes, people their phones are everywhere, and this is not really about people's phones, but people have a real difficulty of engaging you, especially when you have an important thing to say. It's almost difficult for people to split their focus between the message that they're holding in their hand and the message that's in front of them, and that's a difficult sort of product of who we are. But I believe once you start to get one or two people, then the energy changes in the room, and then that energy spreads. So the message has to stay consistent, whatever the message is. I think that's the thing about anybody who's doing any particular type of work in public, is that your message has to stay consistent, and that's where the practice is you have to be available to prepare for the message, whatever the message is, stay within the message, and then when you're delivering the message, keep on task and not be persuaded by somebody who's getting up. I was doing a workshop and people were getting up, and because it was after their lunch, and so I was the second half of the day, and people were getting up and using the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, which brings us to another point in when you're focusing on other people, and that is, don't take anything personally.
Yeah.
Everybody is in their world, you know, they're
Sure.
totally in their own world, in their own vibe. And it's like, they're thinking whatever they're thinking.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're
thinking you're in your underwear. Who knows?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just like, don't take it personally, just stay on point and just keep with what you're doing. And more than anything, enjoy yourself. Enjoy the connection with whatever that might be.
You probably don't have too many opportunities for that particular performance, no matter what it is. then utilize it.
Yeah, exactly. So Richard, this is number 10. This is the one that I told everybody to wait and
Yeah.
save it up for. And I will, I'm the one that's saying. So
Sure.
cure number 10 for stage fright is find comfort in furry friends.
True.
So we do have a couple of little friends here.
Yeah.
Who do you have, Richard?
This is Monkey Girl.
Hi, Monkey Girl.
And,
And I have Mrs. Beasley, who does want to say hi to Monkey Girl.
And Monkey Girl's got a lot of stage fright. Just being.
I can see that on her face right now.
Yeah, she tries to look pretty as she can, but sometimes she gets upset. Whatever your metaphoric furry friend is going to be, I probably would not, take Monkey Girl around with me. I might get pulled over. But the metaphor of our furry friends is you have to learn how to comfort yourself with healthy things.
That's right. And like if you have to give a speech tomorrow, bring your friends to bed with you, because they'll comfort you. But I will also say it could be a cat or a dog or something that is non-human. There's something really great about just holding something or feeling something. And also too, Mrs. Beasley always has the greatest advice. Did you hear that?
No.
She said, speak a little louder, dear, so Mrs. Beasley can hear you. She does comfort me. This is the doll that I had when I was a child, and this is Bobo, and of course I have Red.
Wow.
So and I know you have a zillion different ones, and I know some days it's everybody that comes to bed with you.
Yeah. Especially if the anxiety is up, then and it's freezing in the house, I don't want to turn the heat on.
Because I know these are called heat pellets for you, right?
They are.
Yeah.
And they give extra heat, and they don't have to pay rent, which is extraordinary.
Well, listen, Richard, thank you so much. This was a blast. I had such a good time. I think Richard and I, and on some level, probably even just to prepare for this video, probably did all 10 cures for stage fright. Would you say?
Yes, I might have had maybe an 11 in there. I don't know.
What was your 11? I'd like to know.
I don't know. I just think that there's, the 11 is the 11th cure is that be prepared for the unknown, and it's sort of that motto of be prepared. Something's going to happen that you're not going to be aware of. There's going to be a time constraint. There's going to be lousy parking. There's going to be you're going to have the flu.
Your hair may do a foo-foo-y thing.
yeah, it's going to do all sorts of things, and you just have to get ready for that thing. And so that's the preparation. I always arrive way too early for things, but because I know that you might have to look for an extension cord, or they haven't, someone's running.
I like that. And, I would also say that arrive just early enough, but not too early, because sometimes when I've arrived way too early, then I have way too much time on my hands to get more nervous. So it's a balance.
To thine own self be true. There really is that. Some people like the thrill of getting there right before their name is called. Then if you can do that, good for you. I err on, I need to just sit.
Especially if it's the first time you've ever done something, give yourself enough time and realize that you're not going to have planned for everything. And so everything's an improv, everything's an ad lib. You're going to have to just deal with whatever's happening in that moment. That's why, let's just go through them. Identify the event that is causing the stage fright and see it clearly.
Sure.
Don't judge yourself. Everyone feels stage fright. Don't believe your thoughts. Let go of the wreckage of the future. Talk to someone you trust. Activate the body center. Write down your fears and use your superpower of reversing the curse. Comfort the body. Comfort the mind. Focus on others. And of course, use your furry friends to comfort you. Richard, thank you.
Thank you
so much for this. I appreciate you
Appreciate
helping
you.
us with this. And maybe we'll do, this is my very first video that I've done for Playing You, the Academy. So you are my first guest.
And I'm going to be putting this up on my website.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about where your website is and where we can reach you if we'd like to.
It's www.richardweingartner.com, Richard Weingartner, one word, .com.
Can you spell Weingartner just so that we...
I can. It's Weingartner.
All right.
And it's called Acting Devices for Serious Actors. Very excited.
That's great. Wonderful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Richard Weingartner, thank you.